Hi, due to the strong interest from all of you, I decided to do a video about Saturn transit over the sun sign. And you all know the sun signs because this is the magazine popular sign where everyone knows if you're born April or March, you are Aries. If you're born December or January, or most probably Sagittarius. This is the most popular sun sign. This is the so-called the position of the sun when you are born. And as we already did with the previous videos, Saturn's transit, we did over the ascendant, over the sign of the ascendant, which is probably the most important of all, because the ascendant is the beginning of the horoscope, so it indicates a new beginning in your life, and it's very dramatic new beginning, like totally new, you know, like the sphere, the people, the work, like a big change over, usually once in 29 years that happens. But the sun is also very important. The sign of the sun, whenever Saturn transits that one and passes over it, which happens again once in 29 years, this is another symbolic type of new beginning in your life. It's not as dramatic as when Saturn transits the ascendant or the moon for that reason. You know, I have a video also about Saturn transit about over the sun, but it's pretty much life-changing as well. It's another type of new beginning, not to such an extent, to smaller, but quite memorable time. And usually Saturn transits the sign of the sun once for 2 years, 2.5 years, every 29 years, but it doesn't mean that the whole 2.5 years will be Saturnian. Maybe just half of the time you have one intense year of Saturn influence. And as you've already learned from the other videos, Saturn influence is really quite intense, and there are subtle differences when Saturn transits the ascendant, the moon, and the sun. And what is the difference with the sun? For example, the sun signifies the career in a person's life. So when Saturn transit happens, there are often quite big and radical changes in your career. And these are usually ushered into your life either because through some difficult experience, because you start feeling dissatisfied with the position or the job or the career or the goals you're running after, right, for the current moment. When Saturn comes, you start feeling more and more dissatisfaction, and you decide to take action and go on another path. And Saturn periods are always very difficult. You have to start from scratch. You have to put a lot of effort. So these are usually periods of when you either restructure somehow your careers and goals and where you're headed in life. These are the purpose. The sun is an active masculine planet, which signifies the things we want to achieve in life, the ambitions, often the career. The goals in our life, the work that we do, you know. So Saturn brings some changes there when it transits that sign for about, more intensely for approximately 1 year. And if it's not a fully change of a career, then it will be in your present career, there will be some restructuring, or in your goals. Maybe you'll be satisfied, you'll be shown by life that the goals you've had till now are either unrealistic, and a lot of times people leave certain goals in their life when Saturn passes the sun, because they see them for what they are, because Saturn is a planet of realism, harsh reality, so it doesn't doesn't allow you to keep your illusions, you know. So if not, something is impractical, it hasn't been working in your life, especially when it comes to do with careers and your goals, Saturn will, you know, get rid of this in your life. So that's why it can be also painful period, especially people who don't want to change direction in their life. But you know, Saturn forces them, you know, I don't know, getting fired, for example. That's an extreme. That's one of the more negative examples of Saturn transit the sun. Problems with the boss. The sun is authority figures in your life. Saturn can always bring obstacles in that area. But it doesn't always have to be this way, you know. Often the person can feel the impulse for change within themselves. They can do the restructuring. And Saturn period will just force them to work much harder than other times. Take a look when Saturn was in the sign of your sun sign. Say in the last 2 years Saturn was in Libra. A lot of Libras, I'm sure, had to work much harder than other times, had more responsibilities. That's what Saturn always brings, more responsibilities than normal. And I'm quite certain they also had much more, what's the word? focus as well and determination, because Saturn makes you persevere, makes you, no matter what happens, you kind of have more staying power and you have more self-discipline again. And because the Sun is a masculine planet, not so much as the Moon transit that we spoke about, not many people can mobilize themselves discipline-wise when Saturn transits the Moon, but when Saturn transits in the sign of the Sun, which is masculine planet, so it allows you to move around more, allows you to approach, to do something about this. Saturn brings those negative feelings of discontent, thinking of failure, discontent with the current goals and ideas, disillusions. You're seeing the illusions about your or projects that don't work, you know. Saturn brings all those to the surface. If something is not supposed to be your path on your goals and your career, this Saturn period will make you realize it and will end it. But at the same time, Saturn will give you the courage and the self-discipline and the ability to act on something new and to change those things. And often people start new business ventures when Saturn transits the Sun. Often people, as I said, change, restructure their goals, and yes, I don't want to repeat myself, but it's also a very important time for self-esteem. Initially, during the transit, Sun symbolizes self-esteem, and initially Saturn can really smash your self-esteem and your self-belief, what you can achieve. And Saturn is a suppressing planet, you know, or it's not necessary that you can, either some person comes and tells you, well, I don't like your job, you don't do anything good, or someone starts pressing you hard and pushing you in certain direction, and you have like a hard taskmaster on top of your head all the time, and if you don't want to collaborate, it can be quite unhappy period, because you're being bullied basically, either at work or with some other authority figures or with other figures that have power in your life, maybe your husband, because the Sun in the female's horoscope symbolizes male figures, or maybe if you're younger, the Sun represents the father figure, so it can be the father figure that is being more bullying or pushing you, or some authority figure. The Sun also represents people in authority like kings, but nowadays it's not kings, nowadays it's bosses or people who have higher, you know, managers, whatever, and they can push you hard. You really notice this when Saturn is around, and if you're not someone who pushes themselves hard and naturally, then life and the universe will bring a person like that in your life to do it, you know. And but it can be extremely rewarding and constructive time when you get so much work done as never before, you know. So it's not all doom and gloom, even though you might be feeling less, more down, more unsure initially of your abilities. Your self-confidence might be lower throughout circumstances and influences in life or people, or your self-belief that you can succeed in life can be lower. But at the same time, as I said, Sun is an active planet, so you have to get up and start changing things and disciplining yourself. And if things are not going your way, then it means you have to restructure your goals, and you have to start being realistic. You know, no daydreaming no longer. You know, if you've been trying to become an actor for the past 10 years and you've been serving tables and you've been getting a couple of roles, you know, or something, and it's maybe this idea is when Saturn passes over the Sun, maybe it will be, you know, you realize it's unrealistic and you change your goals in life, you know. So something similar happens, but I hope I was able to explain it to you. And please give me feedback. You can write comments below, and you can also give advice to others who are going through this period now, who will be going, or tell your stories, because I'm sure you have a lot of interesting stories. So as I said, careers, male figures, authority figures, all of these can be a bit of source of trouble, but disciplining force for you during this period. And more hard work, definitely. Whenever Saturn is there, the best way to work through the Saturn difficulties is just get down to work, and, you know, don't think too much, otherwise you get too negative. Just start acting and get things done, you know, and the results will come later on. Saturn usually doesn't allow results to come so quickly when it's around, but after a year or two onwards, you'll start seeing the results. And especially if you have a goal and you trust in what you're doing when Saturn comes, you will not feel bad about working hard during that period and being more retreated from the world. But if you're more prone to depressions, then this can be a time when you can really go down and can really feel no hope and no future, because Saturn is the planet of divine inspiration. So this divine inspiration can be quite strongly suppressed during that period. And for every person is a bit different. It depends how your sun is placed in the horoscope. For some people, they can pass through it with flying colors, start a new business, redirect their life, of course, lose some old ambitions and goals and get rid of them. But for some people, it can be a period of total, especially more emotional, and people who don't have a capacity to be active and initiative or to have self-belief normally. This can be a really crushing time. So, but I don't want to scare you. Best time for Saturn transit, stay around more in the sun and try and live more healthily, Anyway, thank you very much. And I will see you with a new video very soon.